All right. I'm going to do this today. I got a Zoom account. I might as well make use of it. Anyhow, I want to talk about shoes today. Um, that's Vancouver. I think Vancouver's on the other. No, that's Kislano on the other side, behind the light. Move that. I don't need the light. There. There's Kislano. Where do you think my heart belongs? Anyhow, hasn't canceled the trip to Vancouver yet, so it's still on go. I just want to talk about shoes today because just I feel like it. Um, I love my shoes. I love my script. Aha. But Yeah, I love shoes. If you dig through my YouTube channel deep enough, you'll find I've actually done a very extensive, like hour-long talk about shoes. I've threatened to do a 3 hour talk about shoes. I can even do a 3 hour talk about socks if you want. But I figured I'd do this today just because shoes change. Shoes have changed. It used to be easy, motion control, stability, cushioning. And then you had the racing flats, right? That was it. That was all you had. I started out in motion control shoes, a thing called the Mizuno Mondo Control. I love that word, Mondo Control, right? Or those words, Mondo Control. What do you think that shoe was? It just kept my foot in one spot. And yes, I pronate. I pronate on one side more than the other, but I pronate now, and I've also gone in like the almost 20 years or 30 years I've been running. 30 years, 1996. Um, I've gone to almost the opposite direction. I've gone to almost no stability. Um, I don't think my feet have changed much. It's just the philosophy of what motion control was and what stability is and how that's changed. I've mentioned this in past videos, but at one time there's an article. I remember I was running from the running room in Collingwood here in St. Albert or in Edmonton, and they had this big shoe wall, and there was motion control. I think there was probably six shoes on the shoe wall for stability, a bunch for motion control, stability, and then everything else was neutral cushioning, racing flats, whatever. And then this article came out in Runner's World and asked the question, did the stability and motion control cause more problems than they solved? And it was still on the fence. It was wavering, but it sort of leaned towards that maybe stability is not all it's matched up to be because stability was and motion control was to hold your foot in place, not to rock or move or anyway. Your foot was set to always land on foot and push off your front of your foot. That's the whole idea. Actually, it's never like that. It's almost like an upside down S. It's not. It's the way your feet rolls. It's supposed to roll. And so I guess thinking back on it now, there was probably legitimate concern about that. But I remember running almost like the next day after that came out. All of a sudden, motion control shoes became like two shoes. Stability grew a little bit better. And some shoes that were considered stability, like the one I always think about is A6 Nimbus, not the Cumulus Nimbus. It's sort of on the wall. It's sort of on the divide between is it stability or is it cushioning? And it's become more, I think, more cushioning than stability, but it's always had that little bit of structure to it that stability shoes might have. I know that I think ASIC still has a GT 1000, which is sort of it's always like the bottom of the stability. Like if you go through ASICs, you got Keanu, which is like motion control, almost motion control. It's the most stability you can get, but they have one that's sort of changed. They've changed their plans. They've actually decided it's not motion control, it's guiding your feet rather, which Brooks started. I'll talk about that in a minute. Then there's the GT 2000, which is stability, and then GT 1000 was almost neutral. But Nimbus was sort of in that place, and Nimbus has changed. A lot of people weren't happy with the change because when I was working at the store, our running room store, people that bought Nimbus, they bought it no matter what. It could be the worst. I mean, one year it came, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but pea yellow. It was looked awful, but people came in and still bought that shoe. They didn't care. It was a Nimbus. That's all they ran in. But then Nimbus changed, and it changed the cushioning a little bit, um, the structure of the shoe a little bit, but people still buy it. And I want to say I got a free pair of those, I think probably 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I love them. They were just perfect. And the thought process has changed. The shoe that really changed this was, or brand was Brooks. They went from they did the same thing. They had motion control, they had stability, they and motion control. Of course, they had the Beast, or if you're a female, there was um I can't remember what the women's version of the Beast was. It was named after a Disney character. Um, um, if you remember the Little Mermaid, That's her name, right? It's the name of the women's uh, motion control shoe. Then they had like at one time it was Brooks. I can't remember names now, but they had a stability shoe and cushioning shoes, right? And then something happened up here with them, and they said, okay, maybe not forcing the foot to do what is they were told it's supposed to do. Let the feet do what they do naturally. And they came up with this idea of instead of stability and support, guide the shoe, guide the foot. And that made a lot more sense because the thought was stability is not maybe help your feet. No, it doesn't help your feet at all. It just forces your feet. And yes, some people really need that support. That's why we have, things like orthotics, right? But it sort of guides the knees, right? And you want your knees to do what they're supposed to do, the hips do what they're supposed to do. In fact, if you got the wrong footwear, it actually affects everything right up to here. So they said guide. So they decided to change their shoes. So instead of a big honking piece of plastic here forcing your feet to roll, they made it like a bowling alley, right? Gutters on either side. So if you pronate inward, pronate's a really interesting word. Anyway, pronate inward, and the idea is when you push, right? Inside and roll. Well, it would guide you to do that rather than forcing your foot to stay in place and just do this, right? And then there's other people too that underpronate, and that's on this side. So they would guide your feet, which is a really cool idea. And then all of a sudden, every other shoe manufacturer is starting to go that way. Some never were. Hoka has a couple shoes that they say are stability shoes, but really they guide the feet. But they've actually bought in big time to just let the feet do what they're supposed to do, right? If you really have a mechanical problem that you really have to address, orthotics, exercise, strength training, sometimes it's not the feet. Sometimes it's the height or the strength, right? Your quads, your hams, your lower back, whatever. It's not always just the feet. Um, but anyway, I used to think I was a Brooks guy all the time. A few years ago, yeah, probably because their rep for Brooks was really good. But I look back at some older marathon shoes. I've worn the Mizuno's, I've worn New Balance, I've tried every brand there is. So yeah, I wasn't just necessarily Brooks. But I love Brooks. I love the whole thought process because they put a lot into their shoes. They even have their own track team, Brooks Beasts, and Ariel. That's the name of the female stability shoe. But yeah, they have a track team, and the track team actually tries your stuff up, so they get feedback from people who actually run, which is actually a great idea. Bingo, huh? Every shoe brand should do that. But I love the character of the whole Brooks thing. I mean, I love that their home office is in Seattle, and it's like probably the most environmentally um, friendly building in the world. I think they even use gray water. They collect rainwater and stuff. So yeah, I love it. I love the brand. But I don't wear them anymore. Actually, I do. I had problems with my heel last year, so I bought these. These are the Brooks Adrenaline. And that's a shoe. It used to be a stability shoe. Now it just guides. It's got a little bit more support in it, but it guides. Actually, these are Ghost, sorry. I love the Ghost too. And that was why I had the rep, right? The product rep from Brooks. Just she kept throwing shoes at me, and I tried the Glycerin, I tried the Ghost. I love the Ghost, so I just kept getting Ghosts. And she knew I needed stability, but she still gave me the Ghosts, and they worked. I have to have physio that's actually big time on that too. She says just go for cushioning, work a little exercises maybe, do some heels or toe lifts and work on your calves, get stronger. And the more you run on them, your body actually learns how to adapt and how to run, right? If you've never run before, you just know how to walk. And the thing about running is, as everybody will say, 2 feet are always off the ground at the same time, right? You're jumping from foot to foot. And at some point, if you see any pictures of people running, videos, they're flying. And you're apparently landing on your front foot with a lot more force than I don't get. Some people said 3 times your body weight or whatever. It's just a lot more force. I don't get the 3 times per whatever. But anyhow, so yeah, that was a process. But then I tried another brand. I've tried Hoka's. I like Hoka's a bit. I've seemed to drag my heels a lot in the Hoka's. I don't know why. I actually do have a pair of Hoka's still. I use them for walking shoes. Um, maybe guard they may become my lawn cutting shoes. But then there's another there and Hoka is sort of neat too because designed by three guys that lived in the French Alps and runners. And their idea was they wanted a shoe that was like a perpetual motion machine. The thing is, when you run, there's always this thing about midfoot strike versus heel strike. And people say when you heel strike, you're coming to a stop. Well, if your foot touches the ground, there's still friction. You're still stopping. So when you're running, no matter what, whether you land midfoot, heel strike, toe strike, you're still that minuscule second of stopping. Um, and the heel strike, I'm going to say the heel strike, there's so many runners I've seen that are like ultra elites that they heel strike. You watch them, they heel strike. The trick is where does your feet land? If it lands, and I get arguments about this all the time. Your feet have to land or should land beneath your center of gravity, not in front. Well, never behind, but not in front. And that's where the heel strike thing comes in. You'll see some runners, especially people that are just starting out thinking that they go faster, they take a wider stride. Well, then they land on their heel, and oh man, that God, that's wrong. But that's not the issue. As long as it lands beneath you, because as long as you're rolling, that's fine. As long as you're doing the stride, the whole stride thing, the whole way the foot's supposed to move, you're fine. Don't overthink that part. And it's funny too when you talk to runners, they'll say, "Oh, I'm a midfoot striker." And you'll run behind them. Oh, they're heel striker. And heel strikers that say they're midfoot are people that are just adamant that they're heel strikers, and you run behind them, especially after a shoe talk or after a biomechanics talk, they run midfoot strike. So it's what your body wants to do, it'll do. I think you can train yourself to do midfoot strike. Is it any faster, any better? I think the trick is you want your feet to be on the ground a minimum amount of time. So that was the idea of Hoka's. They designed the shoe so you're moving. You're forced to do that stride, and not forced, but is guided to do that stride. The extra cushioning seems for me like extreme. But if you look back to shoes like in the early 70s or the early 90s, they looked like Hoka's. Everything had huge, huge, huge cushioning on them. So maybe we're going back in time. But the fact that they're guys that run and they spend so much time researching these shoes, I like Hoka as a brand. I don't like running in them. And that becomes down to personal choice. That's why when you walk into a store, um, I don't really get the Lululemon thing where you walk into Lululemon and just try Lululemon shoes. You have to compare. Um, yeah, there's so many things. And so many things about this shoe, how the shoe fits too, right? Um, there's one thing that wears out in shoes. You'll see, actually, I got my shoes out here. These shoes, these are my winter shoes. I ran in them yesterday. I hate them. I really hate running in them. They're heavy. They clunk. I was running yesterday. You can actually hear my foot strike the ground, which I don't like the sound of. But once you throw, did you bring them? Yak tracks on them and run through the snow, yes, they work. But yeah, I just found they don't work very great. But look at this. There. Look at that part. That's wear and tear. That's not the shoe, that's just the way I run. So I'm guessing when I run, at some point my toes rub. Or maybe it's not my toes, maybe it's my calf. I haven't really done a video to see how I do that. But a lot of times you'll see that when I was working at a store, you'd get this stuff where people would come in with their shoes and say, Warren, I wore this part out, the shoe's faulty. Well, it's not, it's just the way you run. A lot of dog walkers will wear out this part of the shoe because when they walk, they'll wear out this part and they say, well, the shoe's faulty. Well, no, it's just the way you move. It's not the shoe. It's not the shoe, it's you. The one other part that wears out a lot is this part in the back here, right? The heel counter, the back of the foot. That's the most important part of the shoe, if you're wondering. That holds your foot in place. Holds your foot solid. So if it doesn't fit solid, you're going to move back and forth. Well, what happens when your heel moves back and forth? You wear out this part of the back of the shoe. The heel and the plastic heel counter is underneath that. That if you wear through to that, time for new shoes. Time for different shoes because it's obviously the wrong shoe. If you feel your foot moving around when you run, take the shoe back. If you try it in the store, yeah, for the 5 or 6 minutes you try it in the store, even if you try it on a treadmill, what are you doing? Take it home, walk around the house, run up and down your stairs. And if it doesn't feel solid, try a different shoe. I've had so many guys come in, and I worked with people that thought, well, maybe they're just not untying their shoes, and that's how it tears. No, it's just wear and tear. It's friction. Friction tear wears through the fabric, and oops. So yeah, think that through. There's sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes somebody bring a shoe back, and yes, there is a fault to the shoe, and we do it, and we take the shoe back. Some shoe brands are awesome. Ours at the running room was 30 days, had to stay inside all the time. Then Brooks came along. I think it was 90 days, inside or outside. If you, whatever, take them for a run, go through a swamp. If they don't work, bring them back. We'll try something else. No questions asked. We'll just, I guess, throw the shoe out. Because really, after a while, you can't clean the shoes. When I started running, running room used to do that. I can remember buying my first pair of shoes at the running room, and here's your shoe, go run it up and down the sidewalk in front of the store. And yeah, that works. That works. I think better than treadmill. Because unless you're running a treadmill all the time, it's not real life, right? And as I tell people, I've only run a treadmill 3 times in my life. Hated all 3 times, and at least two of those was because physio, both physios. Oh, actually, once was because I was recovering from a broken ankle, and I was told to run on the treadmill. I ran on the treadmill for like 5 minutes, went outside. I just can't run indoors. That's me. But but yeah, you want to try the shoe out. So the brand I like now, I love the shoe. I love everything. I love the clothing. You name it. I'm all in. Ons. It's not on cloud, it's on. O-N. If you look at the logo, there it is. On. And that thing there, that's supposed to be a light switch. But it's on. And I love these things. The first, I can't remember. I've been trying to figure out remember the name of the first model I bought. And it was like a minimal shoe. It was like no support, nothing. It was a neutral shoe, neutral cushion shoe, neutral shoe. Let's say cushioning shoe or neutral shoe. That's another thing that gets us in trouble is the names of the shoes, the stability, neutral cushion. I remember people would occasionally ask for a neutral stability shoe. There's no such thing. I always thought they meant the color when they said neutral. Um, yeah, and we get caught up in this. Like we're always supposed to told to have the people watch the people's gait, right? Take their shoes off, walk around the store, see if they pronate inward, outward, what happens with their feet. Excuse me, and always do that. But sometimes we would occasionally take the shortcut, and a customer walk in and says, "I need a real stable shoe." And this is a true story. Lady comes in, she bought a pair of shoes, brand new, hadn't worn them outside, just indoors, and she said they just don't feel right. And I said, well, and I looked, they're Kiano, A6 Kiano, which is like next step up, just a step down from the motion control shoe. So what the shoe's designed to do is stop you from pronating, right? Not going inward. And I said, that's like the most stable shoe we got. So I went out, I just listened to her and just, okay, maybe the person did the assessment, right? And said, okay, needs stability. So I went back, got two other shoes. There's Mizuno. Um, I can't remember what it is called, the model is called, but also I brought out the Brooks Transcend, which is their version of a stability shoe. Same thing. Something doesn't feel right. And I just started watching her and I told her to take the shoe off. She did that. And interesting thought. What happened was she's actually rotating upward. She's not overpronating, she's underpronating. So when she said stability, the person that was working just heard that and said stability shoe. You have to watch, you have to check that. As soon as we threw her in a neutral shoe, problem solved. It was actually a Brooks, and you got stability, or you got the guiding bars on both sides, problem solved. So you have to listen, make sure the customer that's, or salesperson that's selling the shoe listens to you and asks you 1,001 questions. That's the other thing I always say. You walk into a store that sells shoes, listen, listen, ask a lot. They make sure that the service person, the salesperson is asking lots of questions, learning everything possible about you, about your running, how long you've been running, what are you doing running? Are you running trails or pavement or asphalt or dirt or feathers or what? Um, any injuries that we should know about, any long-term injuries, you get that. You'll get somebody say that, oh, I've got plantar fasciitis. You'll ask, how long have you had it? Oh, 3 years. Have you ever seen anybody about it? No? Well, guess what? Leave the store, find a physio, get the plantar fasciitis fixed, because no shoe's going to fix that, right? Shoes don't correct, uh, um, will prevent something, but they won't cure anything. So get it from a professional because a running room employee, we're not professionals, right? We're not medical professionals, unless the salesperson that's attending to you has another job as a physiotherapist. Yeah. Podiatrist, I'm not so sure, but physios for sure. Physios are like gods. Anyway, Back to shoes. So now I run in three various shoes. I still have the Ghosts, which I love. They're just a little bit narrower than I'm used to. So that's the thing. I need a little bit more width. And as you get older, also remember as you get older, your feet flatten out, so you will need a wider shoe as you get older. You don't want your shoes. I still have my shoes being really, really tight. I used to like I people would look at my feet and my toes and say, well, it looks like you got paper on the end of your toes. Well, I kept getting blisters and they would pop and whatever, and I just kept running them. I just liked that secure feeling. But as I got older, I noticed that it also caused a little pain. So changed my mind about that. Anyhow, back to my ons. Story about last year. I was having problems with my heels. Um, I'd run for like 5K. A lot of times the full foot would feel like warm, would like sore and warm and felt like I was forming a blister. And then last year I did a 10K. It was called the Army 10K in Edmonton. About, I was about maybe 7K in. My heels felt like they're blistering, both of them. Just, oh my God. And I'd actually doing the Ironman, I did do that with my feet at one point, but this was horrible. And I would stop, I would walk a little bit or hobble, then try to run again, and then it hurt again. And then finally at one point I just said screw it and just ran to the finish line. Took my shoes off, nothing. The heels were fine, perfect. And a few minutes after the run, okay, maybe more than a few minutes, got at my hotel room and they were fine. And I went to the running room and said, okay, I need a shoe with more cushioning. Obviously, something's wrong there. And I was running in it was Ghost. This is the Ghost. This is the Ghost. Cloud Stratus. No, that wasn't it. It was a Cloud Surfer. This thing. Which Surfer, I love the previous version of this. So I figured maybe it'd go, and that's where it burns. So maybe I'll try a different one. So I went to the Ghost Monster. No, actually, it was the Monster I ran in. These things. These things. A little more cushioning. But this is a model that changed. Cloud Monster used to have two rows of the um, pods. Story about the pods. As I go through this, I should write a script, right? Um, these things. The guys that designed these, they're from the Swiss Alps. If you ever watched the Olympics, Summer Olympics, they all wear ons. Um, but yeah, and also Roger Federer, tennis player. He came up with these things, a little more cushioning. He thought of this looking, I guess, while he's watering his lawn, because that's what these were the first iteration of these shoes. He covered the bottom of the shoe with garden hose, cut pieces of garden hose. So what happens is when you run in these things, I can't do this with my fingers. I'm not Schwarzenegger, but these things collapse. So you land hard and the pods cushion as you land. So you land hard and then push off on a solid form. And it works. It works like crazy. That first pair of shoes I bought, I was running in wintertime and no traction going up an icy hill. My buddies were just sliding all over the place. I think because you collapse on there and you had a really good grip, not a problem. So that was good. But the cushioning is amazing. But I just noticed in these shoes, they weren't as good, or thought they weren't as good because I had the burning sensation in my heels. So I went from these to, I bought the Ghosts. I bought the Cloud Surfer because that was my previous favorite shoe. Then I got the Stratus. Stratus seemed to work a little bit, but still not the greatest. Then somebody pointed out to me, go see a physio or go see a massage therapist. So I did. And what happened was, it's not my feet. It was actually my lower back was causing me a lot of pain. And I guess there's some nerve that runs through your back down to your heels. And if your back is aggravated, your heels start to burn. So I ended up with four pairs of shoes, got my back fixed. Shoes are all fine. So yeah, make sure you investigate stuff a little bit more than I did. But anyhow, I love the fact that these how these shoes feel. I found one pair, I guess it's the Stratus. No, it's the Stratus feels a little bit looser, so that's not going to be my shoe. That's going to turn out to be my walking shoe. But the others, the Cloud Surfer and the Monsters, both work great. Um, they fit my foot just perfect, and I just love running them. They're light. You feel like you don't feel like you have shoes on your feet. That's the way what you want. You want to never, ever, 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 ever think about your shoes when you're running. It should be like, yeah, I've got shoes on, unless you're running barefoot, which is another problem altogether. Barefoot running. If you live a place where there's a lot of sand and dirt, I guess barefoot running's fine. If you live in St. Albert and everything's asphalt concrete, maybe not. I've seen guys, they must have read Born to Run or watched the video and figured, oh yeah, I'm going to run barefoot. And they run on asphalt and you can see them and they're in pain. So this is as um, I've heard like ultra marathoners say, if you want to, you can run barefoot, but if you want to win a race, wear shoes. That's pretty much it. If you've always run barefoot, if you live in the Copper Canyon in Mexico, yeah, fine, you don't need shoes. But anywhere else, shoes. Shoes have gotten expensive, which I really don't like. Um, I'm not going to talk about the higher end shoes, the $325 shoes. Um, do you need them? If you want to, and like I say, don't buy them. Do you want them? It's fine, but a shoe's a shoe is a shoe. It should be just the right shoe for you. Even if you do buy yeah the the extra stability, extra support shoes. I'm not going to say what they're called, but they're even saying now just buy those shoes for races and for your rest of your training. Buy another pair of shoes. So you're spending $325 on a pair of yeah that extra bit of shoe and then spend another $200 on another shoe to train in. If you're changing shoes every 400 kilometers, that's a lot of money every 3, 4 months. You need to? No. Unless you're gonna win a race, no. You'll talk to guys that actually wear them, and they say, yeah, they do work for them. But for the rest of us, unless you're trying to shave off that 1 second to beat 2 hours for a marathon, oh my God, it's annoying. Anyhow, yeah, I would say no, don't do that. I'm not gonna say don't. I would suggest not. I would suggest yeah, save your money, train more. Don't bother with the shoes. But if they work for you and you want to do that and you got the money, go for it. Um, yeah. So that's my shoe talk. Yeah, stability. You may need it if you do. And again, if you do need that, and I want to say like every running store is going to do a gait analysis of some sort. They're not just going to sell you a shoe. Department stores type stores, yes, they don't care. They just want to get their shoe out the door. But and if they don't do an assessment on you, go somewhere else. You want to feel like you're in a doctor's office, and you want to make sure you give them your entire history, and also give them feedback while you're trying on shoes. I've had guys where I thought for sure they needed some support, and no, they don't want support. Or I've said that, cushioning is good enough. No, I want the support. So it's listen to the customer. The customer is usually right. Sometimes not so much, but sometimes yeah. And also, if they brought in a shoe from another store or from another, they dealt with another salesperson, always second guess, but just point out that maybe the other person was looking for something else, right? Maybe saw something else. I've seen guys where they see the collapse of the foot, right? Because your foot's supposed to collapse. It's like an S. I always get this wrong, but a lot of times people will complain too that this part of their shoe will wear out, usually this part, and they'll say, well, it's worn out. So obviously I pronate. No, that's just where your heel hits. Everybody, underpronators, overpronators, neutral shoes, they wear out that part. They roll out this side, roll this side, and push off their toe too. So heel, inside, outside, toe. It's like an upside down S. That's the way your foot moves. So that's the way the shoe should be built for. And what Ons does for the shoes that they claim are stability, what they'll do is they'll just harden up the paws on the bottom to help your foot guide your foot to where it's supposed to go. Um, Hoka has, I think it's called a J plate on the bottom. It sort of does the same thing. I can't remember the name of the stability shoe, but that's what it does too. I wish I was in a store right now. I could actually show you the shoes, but I don't work at the Ready Room anymore. I just do events. But anyway, yeah, the shoes are basic. Remember when we were kids, ran in shoes like we didn't care stability. What stability? We just bought whatever we ran in whatever our parents bought us. Maybe that's why my feet were always screwed up because my dad used to complain. I would He'd see my winter boots and stuff, and I'd wear out this part of my shoe. Well, Dad, that's because that's the way I walked. I walked on the inside of my foot. Never really understood that. He said, "Don't walk that way." Well, that's the way I walk, Dad. And since then, of course, I've changed. But also experience matters too. If you've been running in the same shoe forever, and it works, stick that shoe. Just understand at some point that shoe is going to change. And then you're going to have to change again. But most part, like the Nimbus, like I said before, it works and people just wear whatever works. Same thing with me at Brooks. But again, I wasn't always a Brooks guy. I remember that actually that's where the change came. I was in love. There was a shoe that Saucony made. The Saucony, um, it's supposed to be called Stable. We always called it the Saucony Stabil. The reason, the story for that behind that is the guy that designed the shoe was Italian, and he did a tour of, I guess, North America, introducing the shoes to store people, salespeople, and store managers, and he called it the Grid Stabil. So it became the Grid Stabil. That shoe people would die for if they could buy it now. I don't know how long I worked at my store after that disappeared. There's one customer I remember, he'd come in every time, and the first question is he would ask, "Has the Stabil come back?" I've asked Saucony all the time, and they said no. Saucony is an interesting brand. They're a brand I want to like, but again, it's personal choice. I ran in the Stabil because it just worked. It wasn't a stability shoe, but it was, and it was like magic. I remember I had a pair on I was helping out at a triathlon, and one of the partners I was working with kept looking at my shoes and says, "Would you sell them to me?" So yeah, so find your shoe, love your shoe, look after your shoes. Do not throw them in a dryer. Do not throw them on a radiator or heat register. Let them dry naturally because they're built with so much glue and stuff. Unless you're running in a hand sewn specialty shoe that you bought in France at some point. No, there's so many glues and stuff, so many materials. If you throw them and they don't dry naturally, because every part will dry at different length of time, the shoe just won't fit anymore and it'll just fall apart. So yeah, make sure you wear the right socks. We'll talk socks some other time. But anyhow, that's my shoe talk. And if you want other shoe talks, there's like I think I've got 3 or 4 of them on this YouTube channel. Just look back. Shoes have changed, the models have changed, but the whole story about shoes, same thing. Anyhow, I got it. It's noon. I'm gonna go for a run. Uh, I want to get this done before we get too much snow. See you later. And we're out.